Imagine waking up every single morning with the crushing weight of $500,000 pressing down on your chest. $500,000. That's not just a number. That's mortgages on multiple homes, sleepless nights, and the constant fear that everything you've worked for could vanish in an instant. But what if I told you that sometimes, when human effort reaches its absolute limit, something extraordinary happens? Something that defies logic, challenges skeptics, and restores faith in the impossible. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most remarkable debt elimination stories ever documented. A story that will challenge everything you think. You know about financial miracles, the power of prayer, and what happens when desperation meets divine intervention. This isn't just another success story. This is about a transformation so profound, so unexpected, that it left financial experts scratching their heads and believers strengthening their faith. The year was 2019 and Sarah Martinez was drowning. Not in water, but in debt so deep that every financial advisor she consulted painted the same grim picture. Bankruptcy was inevitable. Sarah wasn't a reckless spender or a gambling addict. She was a successful real estate investor who had built an impressive portfolio over 15 years. But when the market crashed unexpectedly in her region, combined with 3 major tenants defaulting simultaneously, her carefully constructed financial empire began crumbling like a house of cards. The numbers were staggering. Credit card debt, $127,000. Business loans, $180,000. Personal loans used to cover mortgage gaps, $93,000. And the remaining mortgages on properties she couldn't sell, $100,000. The interest alone was consuming $3,200 every single month, while her income had dropped to barely $2,800. She was literally paying to go deeper into debt every day. Financial experts called it a debt death spiral, a situation so mathematically impossible to escape that bankruptcy becomes the only rational choice. But Sarah wasn't ready to surrender. She had grown up in a household where prayer wasn't just a ritual, it was the foundation of decision-making. Her grandmother had always taught her that when human wisdom reaches its limit, divine wisdom begins. So on a cold Tuesday evening in March, with foreclosure notices scattered across her kitchen table, Sarah made a decision that would change everything. She didn't just pray for help. She prayed with a specificity and faith that surprised even herself. What happened next challenges every conventional understanding of debt resolution. Within 48 hours of that prayer, Sarah received a phone call that would begin the most extraordinary sequence of events in her financial life. The caller was an attorney representing a class action lawsuit she had completely forgotten about, a lawsuit involving a predatory lending company she had dealt with 7 years earlier. The synchronicities became impossible to ignore. 3 days after receiving news of the lawsuit settlement, one of Sarah's defaulted tenants, someone who had disappeared without paying rent for 8 months, showed up at her door with $31,000 in cash. He explained that his cryptocurrency investment had suddenly exploded in value and he wanted to clear his debt to her completely, with penalty interest included. Sarah had written off this debt months ago, considering it a total loss. But the universe wasn't finished. Within the same week, Sarah discovered that she had been overcharged by her business loan provider for 3 years due to a calculation error in her variable interest rate. The bank's audit department contacted her proactively to offer a refund of $47,000, plus corrected interest calculations that reduced her remaining balance by an additional $28,000. The timing was so precise, so perfectly aligned with her moment of desperate prayer, that even the bank representative commented on the incredible coincidence. The momentum continued building in ways that defied statistical probability. An old business partner reached out after 5 years of no contact, wanting to buy back his share of a dormant LLC they had formed together. Sarah had completely forgotten about this entity, but the partner's offer of $65,000 came at the exact moment she needed it most. When she asked why now, his response gave her chills. "I had the strongest feeling I needed to call you this week. I couldn't shake it." The medical bills that had been crushing her family for 2 years suddenly became manageable when their insurance company conducted a retroactive review and discovered they had been incorrectly processing claims. The result? A $34,000 refund check arrived on the same day Sarah was scheduled to meet with a bankruptcy attorney. She canceled that appointment, sensing that something far greater than coincidence was orchestrating these events. Real estate, which had been Sarah's biggest liability, suddenly became her salvation. The final piece of Sarah's financial puzzle fell into place in the most unexpected way. Her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chun, who had been battling cancer, decided to gift Sarah $43,000 as a thank you for the countless hours Sarah had spent driving her to treatments and helping with groceries. Over the past 2 years, Mrs. Chun said she wanted to see her kindness rewarded while she was still alive to witness it. Sarah protested, but Mrs. Chun insisted, saying she had prayed about it and felt absolutely certain this was the right thing to do. Within 6 weeks of that desperate Tuesday evening prayer, Sarah had received exactly $515,000 through this series of extraordinary events. Not only had her debt been completely eliminated, but she had $15,000 remaining to restart her financial life with a clean slate. The mathematical precision was breathtaking, as if every dollar had been divinely calculated to provide exactly what she needed, plus a small blessing for her fresh start. The transformation went beyond just numbers on a balance sheet. Sarah's health improved dramatically as the stress-induced insomnia and anxiety that had plagued her for months disappeared overnight. Her relationships with family members, strained by years of financial pressure, began healing as the constant tension lifted from their interactions. Most remarkably, her faith evolved from desperate hope into unshakable conviction that she was being guided and protected by forces beyond her understanding. Today, Sarah runs a debt counseling ministry where she combines practical financial advice with spiritual support for people facing impossible financial situations. She's helped over 200 families navigate their own debt crises, and while not everyone experiences miracles as dramatic as hers, she's witnessed countless smaller miracles that have changed lives and restored hope. Her approach is unique. She teaches both financial responsibility and faith-based prayer strategies, believing that divine intervention works best when combined with wise human action. This story raises profound questions about the nature of prayer, coincidence, and divine intervention in our practical, everyday lives. Skeptics might explain Sarah's experience as an extraordinary statistical anomaly, the kind of unlikely event that happens to someone, somewhere, eventually. But for Sarah and the hundreds of people who have heard her story, the precision, timing, and emotional impact of these events point to something far more intentional and personal. Whether you call it prayer, the universe responding, or simply remarkable luck, Sarah's story offers hope to anyone facing financial impossibilities. It reminds us that sometimes when we've exhausted every human solution, when we've reached the absolute limit of our own capabilities, that's precisely when extraordinary possibilities open up. It challenges us to remain open to solutions that don't fit our logical expectations and to maintain faith, even when the numbers tell us hope is foolish. The most powerful aspect of Sarah's story isn't just the financial miracle. It's the reminder that we are not alone in our struggles, that our desperate prayers are heard, and that help can arrive in forms we never imagined. In a world that often feels cold and purely transactional, stories like Sarah's whisper a different truth, that love, compassion, and divine care are real forces that can transform even the most impossible situations. So if you're facing your own financial mountain today, if the numbers seem impossible and the experts are telling you to surrender, remember Sarah's story. Remember that miracles don't always look like dramatic supernatural events. Sometimes they look like phone calls, unexpected checks, and neighbors who care. Sometimes the greatest miracle is simply the courage to pray specifically, to ask for help without shame, and to remain open to receiving assistance in whatever form it arrives. If this story has touched your heart or given you hope, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Have you experienced financial miracles in your own life? Share your story. It might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you're currently facing financial challenges, know that you're not alone and that your story isn't over yet. Hit that subscribe button for more inspiring stories of hope, transformation, and unexpected miracles. And remember, sometimes the impossible is just waiting for the right moment to become inevitable.